I try to throw you this year with hello and not good afternoon. I usually say that. Well, good afternoon. Welcome to the committee's 37th annual commemoration of the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. It is always a pleasure to see all of you here today and see that you continue to believe it's important to gather to celebrate the legacy of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King and to ensure that his vision of a beloved community lives on. So thank you. As usual, we've gathered our local and state representatives, thank you for being here, to kick off Attleboro's remembrance of Dr. King. Dr. King's last civil rights crusade was an effort to help sanitation workers in Memphis, Tennessee, to secure not only fair wages, but a better working environment. Environmental equity was an issue important to Dr. King. For that reason, and as usual, the committee works to keep the work of Dr. King moving forward. To that end, the committee chose environmental equity as its program theme. Our program title, The Nature Gap, Bridging the Racial Divide in Outdoor Spaces. We chose the theme to educate ourselves and the community about the issues people of color face when venturing out into outdoor spaces, from racism to the disproportionate amount of pollution in their communities. Dr. King lost his life in Memphis, but as I say annually, he left us a treasure trove of inspirational words and actions to guide us on how to work collaboratively and nonviolently for social justice and for environmental equity. We'll start our commemorative event with remarks from Mayor Kathleen DeSimone.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us here for the 37th year of celebrating Dr. King's birthday right here in Attleboro City Hall. I am honored to be here with you, and I thank Ethel, Melissa, and the entire Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. Memorial Committee of Greater Attleboro for continuing this important tradition. When we celebrate the life of Dr. King, we not only honor the memory of a historic civil rights pioneer, we also honor an American who never stopped believing in the dream of a better America, a dream of a beloved community, enveloped in love, justice, and equal opportunity, in a community in which all people share and enjoy the abundance of the earth. A community where poverty, hunger, and homelessness do not exist, and where a spirit of inclusivity permeates throughout, and in all ways has triumphed over racism, bigotry, and prejudice. When we think about Dr. King's beloved community and what it means for the relationships between people, governments, laws, and bureaucratic systems, we must also think about what it means for our relationship with the natural world in which it exists. What does the neighborhood of the beloved community look like? Are there trees? Is there grass and flowers? Is there clean air, clean water, and quiet places to sit alone in the sun? Is there access to fresh, healthy food, a pristine natural environment, and peaceful spaces to share with others? It is abundantly clear that achieving Dr. King's beloved community means ending the exploitation of low-income communities and communities of color, which have long been easy and cheap locations for oil and gas infrastructure, waste dumps, and landfills that negatively impact the quality of our air, our water, and our land, and cause profound present and future damage to the people and our environment. It means acknowledging and addressing the fact that heat waves, floods, and extreme weather events often have disproportionate impacts on lower-income neighborhoods. Fundamentally, friends, the dream of a beloved community requires fully understanding that, as Dr. King said, all life is interrelated, that we are all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, and that whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. And that is a quote from Dr. King. I understand this to include people, nature, the earth, our present and our future. And if we truly aspire to at long last live in a beloved community, we must be fully committed to protecting and loving each other and our planet equally, in all ways, in all places, and all at the same time. Not just today, friends, but every day. Thank you, and have a good Martin Luther King Day.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. We will now have a musical montage from the School of Rock. It is a medley of 1960s protest songs.
Take these broken wings and learn to fly all your life. You were only waiting for this moment to arrive. Take these open eyes and learn to see all your life. Only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black night. Sometimes I cry, and I can be wrong. My belief.
Now, I think that's the hard act to follow, right? We thought it was Senator Feeney, but it's going to be School of Rock. All right, so I'd like to invite our first speaker to come up. It's Attleboro Council President James DeLisio.
And folks, see Councilor Foa, I see Councilor Sawyer, I see Vice President Dolan. Thank you all for being with us today. It is a true honor to be here in front of each of you today. Thank you, Ethel, and the committee for putting this on for really an astounding 37 years and for keeping the essence of Dr. King alive and his teachings at the forefront in a world where it's needed now so more than ever. The topic of today's celebration focuses on bridging the racial divide in outdoor spaces. This is an important topic, especially when we think about the future of open space in Attleboro. There's a lot of important work happening here, with that work focusing on how can we be a leader by maximizing and protecting our open spaces for all Attleboro residents. We are a city where our leaders are committed to ensuring each resident feels as though they have an ownership stake in our city. Attleboro is a diverse city, becoming more and more diverse each day. And as we continue to diversify, it's vital to bring in the thoughts and ideas of all of our residents on these important topics. There are a lot of cities across the country and the Commonwealth that don't have the amount of nature, they don't have the access to the nature that Attleboro has. We're lucky to live in a city with such great open space, hiking trails, parks, and playgrounds. And the challenge is, how do we as a city ensure that each resident feels as though they can truly access the beauty of our trails, open space, and parks? There's a lot of care that goes into the preservation and upkeep of these gems. Attleboro is lucky to have the number of volunteers on our boards who have a passion for nature in the city and are making a difference. This city is always looking for volunteers. And in the spirit of today's celebration, I urge anyone passionate about bridging this divide to volunteer for any of our boards or commissions where you can let your voice be heard and you can have your impact felt. You can help lead Attleboro, ensuring that our nature can be enjoyed by all residents. Thank you, committee, for all you do. Thank you all for being here today. I'd like to end with a quote from Dr. King. "We have flown the air like birds, and we have swum the sea like fishes, but we've yet to learn the simple act of walking the earth like brothers." Thank you all.
Next, we'll have State Representative Adam Scanlon.
Wow, what an incredible tribute from the School of Rock to Dr. King today. Let's give it up for them. This is always one of my favorite events to go to as a state representative, serving in partnership with Rep. Hawkins and Senator Feeney. Dr. King's legacy is something that we look back upon as a celebration of triumph and justice, but it also charts a vision for us here today of what any of us can do to fight systemic inequality, and today specifically talk about the impact of environmental injustice. Attleboro and North Attleboro, when we look back on our past, we were former industrial communities of the time, producing buttons, jewelry, and today we unfortunately have many brownfields that still continue to serve as an eyesore throughout this community. But Dr. King wouldn't look at these eyesores, he would look at them as opportunities for improvement, of ways where we can lock arms and create more open spaces. And I really want to thank the mayor for her remarks and the city council president for their emphasis on the importance of open spaces. When we begin to take a back seat and continue to gentrify open spaces, it impacts our most vulnerable populations all throughout the state and throughout the Commonwealth. And probably many of us are asking, I'm not in politics, I'm not on the city council, I'm not, I don't know the ins and outs of this. And the most important thing we can do today is sort of plant the seed and have spirited conversations and dialogues about the importance of preserving our open spaces and our environment as a whole. And if you can have one conversation today, that can have a domino effect for the rest of our community and our Commonwealth. And I'm really thankful again for all of you to be here today. So go out and plant those seeds, and let's keep having conversations.
Next is State Representative Jim Hawkins.
Thank you, and thank you to the School of Rock. This is probably one of the most important things we do all year, and it's worthy of having some good music, so thank you. And I may be one of the older people in the room, but I didn't grow up before rock. I love rock best of all, so thank you. And also, in keeping with the theme that perhaps what Councilor Delisio mentioned for some of the open space and green space and nature in Attleboro, I believe that Attleboro Land Trust is one of the sponsors of this event, which is very fitting. There's a group of people who work tirelessly, volunteers to save, to grab every piece of open space that we possibly can in the city, and they've done an amazing job. There's a whole network of trails that Hike Attleboro is working on, a network of green space to the city, more than any other gateway city that I can imagine has. We're very lucky here, and we need to take advantage of that, and thank you to Attleboro Land Trust. To the theme today about the racial divide and networks and nature, one of the things I mentioned last year that kind of troubles me, this came up in discussions during the pandemic, was communities of color. Why do these exist? It's a systemic problem. And it comes up in lots of different ways that are very harmful to some people, and it's very hard to change this, and we need to make this a priority. The thing that came to my mind when I read that this was the topic was heat islands. Heat islands are in the urban areas where there's no trees, where there's a lot of asphalt and roofs and things, but no trees to cool the area. And they're measurably warmer. As the climate gets warmer, they get even hotter still. And typically these are low-income neighborhoods where people don't have air conditioning. And this is happening. I mean, this is a systemic problem that we need to address. There's things we can do about it, and we need to make sure that we are doing those. The other topic that the mayor mentioned was what happens in some low-income urban areas. And I think there's one that's very near to us in Attleboro. If you can remember 7 or 8 years ago that they wanted to put a compressor station in Rehoboth, which actually was right on the Attleboro city line, so it might as well have been in Attleboro. And I hooked up with some of the people in Weymouth for the Weymouth compressor station, which, despite the fact that they very quietly didn't say that this gas that they wanted to use the compressor station was gas to go up to New Brunswick to be exported to Europe, that it was a for-profit enterprise. It wasn't for our use for heating our homes. It wasn't going to reduce our heating costs in Massachusetts. This compressor station was in the most densely packed neighborhood that you can imagine, in the presence of a lot of other previous from when Boston Edison was there. There's coal ash on the shores. There's already a lot of pollution there, a lot of cancer in the neighborhood, and they put this in anyway, despite that. It wasn't going to benefit anybody in this state. It certainly was a great risk. There's schools, there's churches, a tightly packed blue-collar neighborhood right around that, and they did it anyway. So we're not done. We're absolutely not done. The things that we can do, Rep. Scanlon mentioned, the mayor mentioned, Councilor Delisio mentioned, the things that we can do in the city, those are things that we can control, and we should do every one of them. So thank you for including me. It's always an honor to speak at this, and what a great crowd. Thank you so much.
Next, we welcome, we welcome State Senator Paul Feeney.
Wow, what a crowd. Thank you, Ethel, and to the committee. 37 years. Man, oh man, wow. Right. And to School of Rock, I know each of my colleagues and previous speakers have mentioned it. You had tears in your eyes at the end of that, didn't you? I saw that. Yeah. Growing up, I always wanted to be a rock star. And I come and I see actual rock stars, and making great music, and I don't know what the heck I'm making half the time, but thank you for that. Inspirational, and man, oh man, what a way to start this event. Thank you, Mayor DeSimone, for all that you do for our city every single day, for your commitment. Absolutely, round of applause for Mayor DeSimone. To Council President Delisio for what you do, and for an incredible council, diversity of thought, and just an amazing council, I know, reconstituted recently and do incredible work for our city. To my fellow legislators, my partners in crime, my friends, Representative Scanlon, Representative Hawkins, not only for what you do, for your remarks today, but for really driving policy forward that benefits people in Attleboro and your districts and our districts. It's great to be back together again, isn't it? By a show of hands, just I'm curious, how many people are here today to enjoy this program for the first time? Wow, look at that. Amazing. And to the rest of you that have been here before, 364 days ago, we last gathered in the same room for the same purpose and with the same intent. We shared words, we enjoyed performances, we talked to one another, and we enjoyed each other's company, mostly, I think. We joined together, as we do at this moment, to reflect and to honor, but also to recommit ourselves and to pledge to each other. I want you to think, just for the next couple of minutes, in your own lives, whatever you're interested in, whether it's the fight for equality with the LGBTQ community, whether it's the fight for economic justice, whether it's the fight for, as we talk about today and our theme today, for environmental justice. Brothers and sisters, we bloom where we're planted. I want you to think about the difference we can make in our own lives. You don't have to be a policymaker. You don't have to sit on the city council, be a mayor or a senator. In your own lives, at your own kitchen tables, in your own communities, in your own workplaces, what can we do? What can we do to recommit ourselves? The annual holiday and celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is on the face a simple premise. We reflect on the life of a public figure and spiritual leader, an influencer whose life was cut short, but whose contributions will last for generations. We honor his legacy by recounting his words, by learning of his actions, by telling stories of struggle and tales of persistence. But to truly reflect and honor the legacy of Dr. King, we must take steps, individually and collectively, to not just rejoice in past moments, but to commit ourselves to a perpetual movement. Brothers and sisters, a movement whose need did not cease with the passing of a law and did not die with the taking of a life. A movement based in equality and rooted in equity. A movement centered on justice and nourished by faith. A movement of love and light to defeat darkness and hate. A movement of understanding. A movement of acceptance. A movement of peace. A movement of hope with the promise of opportunity. Brothers and sisters, that is the charge left to us by Reverend King. It was perhaps his greatest gift to the world. Through his words and by his actions, he not only brought justice in many ways to our nation in his present day, he left a playbook to us for a better future today. As we struggle today with a housing crisis that has led to a surge of homelessness, with many on the verge of homelessness in the days ahead. As healthcare accessibility means nothing, while affordability remains a barrier to those who need it the most. As an unequal economy benefits only a few at the expense of the many who continue to struggle. As some debate who should be welcomed to our community and who should be shunned and turned away. At a time when we go into our corners and without empathy or acceptance ignore the perspective of others, and reject their point of view out of hand. When certain politics is once again filled with dog whistles, while overt racism and hate permeates the public discourse, and while some instill fear to prevent progress, it is incumbent, Attleboro, on us to recommit to that perpetual movement with the playbook left by Dr. King in the struggle, and by his words. The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. Quote, there comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but he must take it because conscience tells him it is right. Quote, courage is the power of the mind to overcome fear. Quote, we need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. Brothers and sisters, those timeless words from Dr. King rang a bell over 5 decades ago, yet the reverberations should hit our own ears today. The realities of time dictate that this is our moment now. The choice we have is whether we are committed to making this our movement now. The legacy of Dr. King is great and steeped in words and action that we can recite and regale. But his greatest and most enduring legacy, it's us. It's you. It's a people united, not by the worship of a man or the cult of personality, but by the sharing of values and the commonality of our ideals. The ideal that all people are created equal. It's why we are here today, because we inherently believe in justice, every one of us. And we all share the hope that the promised land seen by Dr. King on the mountaintop is reachable within our lifetime. It's on us now. It's our time. We honor Dr. King by recommitting ourselves to continuing his march, step by step, day by day. I'm honored to be with you on that path and blessed to be here with you today. Enjoy the rest of your Martin Luther King Day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator Feeney. I think you've given us enough to last us the next 364 days. Right? So thank you. Well, that concludes our program, and I invite you to join the committee at the Evangelical Covenant Church for our interfaith service at 2 p.m. where Kalila Barrett will be our speaker. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone.